past month, AI has reached an unprecedented level, with innovations that both thrill and unsettle. August 2024 has seen the release of stunning new technologies, such as OpenAI's humanoid robot, Figure 02, which is pushing the boundaries of human-robot interaction. Meanwhile, OpenAI's stealth launch of an upgraded ChatGPT and the introduction of Orion GPT-5, featuring the advanced Strawberry AI, signal a significant leap in conversational AI. Google, not to be outdone, unveiled its latest models, Gemini Pro 0801 and Gemini Live, taking AI-driven applications to new heights. Beyond chatbots and robots, the rise of autonomous AI scientists and the launch of powerful tools like Grok 2.0 and Agent Q have redefined the potential of artificial intelligence. Buckle up as we dive into the most mind-bending AI updates from August 2024. Figure AI, a workforce powered by AI. A company that's tackling one of the biggest global challenges, the labor force. Altman's investment in Figure AI signals a major shift in how we think about automation and the future of work. Figure, the company behind this robot, just released a teaser for their latest model, Figure 02. The video may be short, but it's packed with fascinating details if you pay close attention. Let's dive in. Take a look at the video, and then I'll break down everything you need to know. In the teaser, we get glimpses of robotic joints, limbs, and some futuristic, flexible mesh designs that appear to be part of the robot's structure. For the tech enthusiasts, they've even teased torque ratings of up to 150 Newton meters, which essentially measures how much force the robot can apply when moving objects. They've also hinted at a range of motion, ROM, up to 195 degrees, which is a significant feature in the robotics world. Brett Adcock, the founder of Figure and no stranger to ambitious tech startups, having also launched Archer Aviation and Vettery, posted on Twitter, or X as it's now known, that Figure 02 is the most advanced humanoid robot on the planet. That's quite a bold claim. Okay, let's talk about something super exciting, and honestly, a little bit terrifying in the world of AI, if you've been following the AI image generation scene for a while. You know, we've had some big players dominating the space, Mid-Journey, DALL-E, Stable, Diffusion, but guess what? A fresh contender has arrived, and it goes by the name Flux. And trust me, you're going to want to know about this one. So where do we start? Let's kick things off with a little background on what's been going on in the AI world. You see, for the last couple of years, we've seen a massive boom in AI-generated art tools like Adobe, Firefly, Mid-Journey, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion have been battling it out to be the top dog, each one pushing the boundaries with their updates. But now something new has entered the ring, and it's got everyone talking. All right, let me paint you a picture. You're scrolling through your social media feed, and you come across an image that looks so real you'd swear it was a photograph, but then you do a double take. Maybe it's the way the text on a lanyard looks a little funky, or the patterns in the background seem a bit off. That's when you realize you're not looking at a photo, you're looking at an AI-generated image. And this thing is as close to real as it gets without actually being real. That's Flux for you, and it's causing quite a stir. So Flux is an open-source AI image generator that's being developed by a company called Black Forest Labs. If that name doesn't ring a bell, maybe the fact that some of the folks behind it used to work at Stability AI will. Yup, that's the same crew responsible for Stable Diffusion, which, as you know, is a pretty big deal in the AI art world. The company is also working on a text-to-video model that it promises will offer high-quality output and be available open-source branding. It's state-of-the-art, text-to-video for all. Now, another really interesting development in the world of AI and robotics is coming from a startup called Oxford Dynamics, based in Harwell, Oxfordshire. They're working on a robot called Strider, and this thing is specifically designed to venture into some of the most dangerous environments known to man. We're talking about places where chemical, biological, or even nuclear threats are present. Basically, situations where you really wouldn't want to send a human. Now, Oxford Dynamics isn't just playing around here. They've already landed a £1 million contract with the UK Ministry of Defence Mod to design, develop, and supply these robots. The idea is, instead of risking human lives, why not send in a machine that can handle the job? Mike Lawton, one of the directors at the company, is thinking big. He's talking about building hundreds, maybe even thousands of these Strider robots in the future, all with the goal of making the world a safer place. So what exactly can Strider do? Well, this robot is pretty versatile. It's got a long, multi-jointed arm that can take readings, collect samples, and retrieve contaminated objects. And it moves around on these tank-like treads, which means it's built to handle rough, unpredictable terrain. Think about how tough it would be for a human in a hazmat suit to navigate a place like that. Strider can do it without breaking a sweat. Well, if robots could sweat, the company started working on Strider in November, and they've got until September to deliver the finished product to the Defense Science and Technology Laboratory. If you've been feeling like your AI buddy's been acting a bit different lately, maybe quicker, sharper, and just a tad smarter, you're not alone. OpenAI has been sneaky, rolling out some major changes without a big announcement, but don't worry, I've got all the details you need to know right here. So let's talk about it. Last week, I started noticing that ChatGPT felt different. It was like the responses were more on point, faster, and just generally better. I wasn't the only one either. People all over social media were talking about how ChatGPT seemed to be upgraded. But here's the thing, OpenAI didn't say a word about it at first. It was all very hush-hush until they finally dropped a little bombshell on us. OpenAI took to X to casually mention that they'd slipped in a new version of their GPT-4.0 model into ChatGPT. So they just updated the model we've all been using without making a big deal about it. The message was simple. There's a new GPT-4.0 model out in ChatGPT since last week. Hope you all are enjoying it and check it out. If you haven't, we think you'll like it. That's it. No fancy press release, no grand unveiling, just a tweet. Typical OpenAI right now. If you're wondering what's so special about this new model, let's break it down. The updated version of GPT-4. Which they're calling ChatGPT-4. Latest is essentially a fine-tuned and optimized version of what we had before. But here's where it gets interesting. While OpenAI hasn't spilled all the beans, there's a lot of speculation about what this new model actually is. Some people out there are thinking this might be part of a bigger strategy by OpenAI to release different size models, kind of like what Google and Anthropic are doing. There's been talk about a GPT-4, large. And some think this latest update could be a stepping stone in that direction. But I'm not totally sold on that idea, because let's be real, if it were a brand new model, they probably would have hyped it up a lot more. So what can this new model do? Well, from what I've seen and what others have reported, it's performing better on tasks that require complex reasoning and creativity. Like if you've been asking ChatGPT to help with coding or solve tricky problems, you might have noticed it's just a little bit sharper now. It's also faster, which is a nice bonus. But, of course, it's not perfect. There are still some weird quirks. For example, in one test, the model was asked to stack a book, 9 eggs, a laptop, a bottle, and a nail in a stable manner. The solution, it suggested putting 9 eggs on top of a bottle. I mean, come on, who does that? All right, now I also want to talk about a new AI model that just came out, but it didn't really get the attention it deserves. This model, called Falcon Mamba 7B, was released by the Technology Innovation Institute TII in Abu Dhabi. TE is known for working on cutting-edge technologies like AI, quantum computing, and robotics, and now they've dropped this new model. It's available on Hugging Face, and it's an open-source model, which is pretty cool. But what really sets it apart is the new architecture it's using. Most of us are familiar with transformer models, which have been dominating the AI scene for a while now, but Falcon Mamba 7B uses something different called the Mamba State Space Language Model, SLM architecture. This new approach is quickly becoming a solid alternative to those traditional transformer models. Now, why is this important? Well, transformers are great, but they have some issues, especially when it comes to handling longer pieces of text. You see, transformers use an attention mechanism that looks at every word in a text and compares it to every other word to understand the context. But as the text gets longer, this process demands more and more computing power and memory. If you don't have the resources to keep up, the model slows down and struggles with longer texts. This is where SSLM comes in. Unlike transformers, SSLM doesn't just rely on comparing words to each other. Instead, it continuously updates a state as it processes the text. This means it can handle much longer sequences of text without needing a ton of extra memory or computing power. Now Falcon Mamba 7B uses this SSLM architecture, which was originally developed by researchers at Carnegie Mellon and Princeton universities. What's cool about this model is that it can dynamically adjust its parameters based on the input, so it knows when to focus on certain parts of the text and when to ignore others. So you know how Google's been kind of struggling in the AI world lately, right? I mean, they had some pretty rough moments, like that one time there, or a Bard chatbot gave wrong info about the James Webb Space Telescope during its first big demo. That little mess-up cost Google's parent company, Alphabet, a casual $100 billion in market value. Yeah, that hurt. And don't even get me started on their Gemini image generation tool. People were tearing it apart for historical inaccuracies and some bias issues. So Google had to pull the plug on that one. Really quick with all that, it seemed like Google was falling way behind OpenAI and Microsoft, who've been absolutely killing it with their AI stuff, especially with GPT-4. Oh, and all the AI integration Microsoft's been doing. It was almost like Google was this giant who was stumbling, trying to keep up in a race. It used to dominate. But here's the plot twist. Google just pulled off a major comeback, and it's got everyone in the AI world buzzing. They've been steadily improving their AI game, and now they've rolled out some impressive upgrades. Earlier this year, they introduced Gemini 1.5 Pro, which really shook things up. And now they're back at it with a new version. We're talking about the experimental version 0801 of Gemini 1.5 Pro, which is now available for early testing and feedback through Google AI Studio and the Gemini API. The LMS-wise Chatbot Arena is a popular benchmark that tests AI models on various tasks and gives them an overall competency score in a recent evaluation. GPT-4 got a score of 1,286, and Claude 3 wasn't far behind with 1,271. Interestingly, an experimental version of Google's Gemini model called Gemini 1.5 Pro 0801 scored an impressive 1,300. This surpasses even the scores of its well-known competitors. For context, an earlier version of Gemini 1.5 Pro scored 1,261. While this suggests Gemini might be more capable overall, it's important to remember that benchmarks don't tell the whole story about an AI model's strengths and weaknesses. The AI community is buzzing with excitement about this latest Gemini version. Social media is flooded with users praising it as insanely good, with some even claiming it blows GPT-4 out of the water. So yeah, Google's definitely back in the game with this one. So let's talk about robots, specifically humanoid robots powered by AI, and explore all the exciting developments that were showcased at the 2024 World Robot Conference in Beijing. And trust me, there is a lot to unpack from this event. We're talking game-changing innovations, cutting-edge technology, and the latest in AI advancements. So let's get into it all right. So first, let's set the stage. The World Robot Conference is kind of a big deal in the tech world. Think of it as the Oscars for robotics. It takes place every year in Beijing, and it's where the latest and greatest in robotic technology is put on display. This year, the conference was bigger and better than ever, attracting 169 exhibitors from all over the globe, showing off more than 600 innovative products. And here's the kicker. There were a record-high 27 humanoid robots featured this year. Yeah, humanoid robots are becoming a major focal point in the robotics field, and the hype is real. So why all the buzz around humanoid robots? Well, there's a growing interest in how AI can be integrated into robots that look and move like humans. These aren't standard robots that you might see in factories. These are androids designed to interact with us in a more natural human-like way. The idea is that these robots could eventually perform tasks just like or even better than humans. And it's not just about replacing humans. It's about collaborating with us, especially in environments that are dangerous or require heavy labor. A great example from the conference is the Unitary G1. This is a two-legged humanoid robot standing about 1.3 meters tall and weighing around 35 kilograms. It's sleek, it looks futuristic, and it's packed with some pretty advanced tech. The Unitary G1 can move at a speed of 2 meters per second and has advanced 3-finger force control hands, which means it can handle objects delicately and precisely. It's also got a maximum knee joint torque of 120 Newton meters. So it's pretty strong for its size. What really sets the Unitary G1 apart is its robot, unified large model, which is a fancy way of saying that it has a robust AI system that allows it to learn and refine its skills continuously. This model was launched this year, and it's already making waves, priced at around 99,000 yuan, or about 13,874 US dollars. It's actually quite affordable considering its advanced capabilities. Okay, so remember when we talked about the Figure 02 robot a few days ago? At that point, it was just the initial hype, and we only knew a few specs. But now that we have the full details, this thing is actually insane. This robot represents a legitimate breakthrough in humanoid robots. And if that wasn't crazy enough, there's a new AI robot dentist that just performed fully autonomous dental surgery on a live patient without any human help. It's wild to think about. These developments are super exciting, so let me break down why there's such a big deal. Alright, first off, let's talk about the design. Figure 02 looks like it means business. If you remember Figure 01, it had this kind of bulky chrome metal look, almost like it was wearing a suit of armor that was cool and all. But the new model has gone for a sleeker, matte black finish that makes it look more like a high-end sports car than a medieval knight. The reason behind this is that Figure 01 was designed to withstand endless hours of testing in the lab, so it had to be over-engineered to handle the wear and tear. But now that Figure 02 is closer to a production model, they've refined everything, making it look and move more like something you'd actually see working on a production line. One of the big changes they made is with the cabling in Figure 01, the wires were pretty much all over the place, purposefully exposed for easy fixes and adjustments during testing. But with Figure 02, everything is tucked away inside the limbs. Not only does this make it look cleaner, but it also protects the cables from the environment, which is crucial if you're going to have these robots working long shifts in a factory setting. And speaking of working long hours, the battery on this thing has been seriously upgraded. Figure 02 now has a battery that gives it over 50% more energy compared to the first model. The battery is integrated into the robot's torso, which is a smart move because it brings the center of mass closer to the middle of the robot's body. This design tweak makes Figure 02 more balanced and nimble, so it can move around more efficiently while carrying out tasks. Alright, now check this out. Something absolutely groundbreaking just went down in the world of AI and robotics. For the first time ever, a robot has performed fully autonomous surgery on a live patient. We've now got a robot dentist that can handle certain dental procedures all by itself. No human intervention needed. This is huge, and it could completely transform how we think about healthcare and AI. Imagine lower costs, no more waiting times since we can basically make as many of these robots as we need, and eventually, maybe even better service than what we're used to. And who knows, we might even see a day when we have our own personal dentist AI robot at home. I know it sounds wild, but with this breakthrough, it's not that far-fetched anymore. The company behind this innovation is called Perceptive, and they've been working on this for a while. What they've created is essentially a robot that combines AI 3D imaging and robotics to perform dental procedures like placing crowns. Now normally, getting a crown would take 2 separate visits to the dentist, with each visit lasting at least an hour. But with Perceptive Robot, that whole process can be done in just 15 minutes. Imagine the time and stress that could save. Here's how it works. The robot uses something called a 3D volumetric data procedure to diagnose the issue and plan the treatment. It starts with an OCT scan, optical coherence technology, using a handheld intraoral scanner developed by Perceptive. This scan is super detailed, capturing 3D images that go beneath the gum line. through fluids, and even under the surface of the tooth. What's really cool is that this whole process doesn't expose the patient to any of the ionizing radiation you'd usually get from traditional X-rays. The robot doesn't just stop at scanning perceptive AI algorithms, take that 3D data and translate it into a precise plan for the surgery. The result? A robot that can diagnose and treat dental issues with an accuracy rate of over 90% that's not only super efficient, but it also cuts down on the chances of human error. Plus, the detailed images from the scan help patients actually see and understand what's going on with their teeth, which is a nice bonus. AGI might be closer than we think with OpenAI's new model Strawberry, and they've already tested it, and let's just say it's a bit terrifying launching this fall. Strawberry could blow past the limits of current AI handling tasks that were previously thought impossible. This model is packed with next-level capabilities, from solving complex problems to enhancing existing AI tools like ChatGPT. So let's get into it. All right, Strawberry is the code name for OpenAI's new AI model, which they plan to launch this fall. According to various reports, Strawberry is being designed to perform tasks that current AI models struggle with or simply can't do at all. Think of things like solving complex math problems it's never encountered before, developing detailed marketing strategies, or even tackling advanced word puzzles. For example, Strawberry has reportedly been able to solve the New York Times connections puzzle, which is no small feat for an AI, but Strawberry's abilities are far more serious than puzzles and math problems. The model is set to dramatically improve reasoning capabilities, allowing it to perform in-depth research, generate high-quality synthetic data, and potentially revolutionize fields that rely heavily on data analysis and strategic planning. OpenAI has even demonstrated Strawberry's capabilities to US national security officials, showing just how seriously they're taking this new development. The potential applications for Strawberry are vast, spanning from business strategy and supply chain management to research and security. Now, the name Strawberry might sound a bit lighthearted, but the backstory is quite the opposite. Originally, this model was known as Q*, pronounced Q* within OpenAI. This wasn't just a name change for branding purposes. It came at a time of significant upheaval at OpenAI. The internal development and potential implications of Q* led to some intense discussions within the company, even contributing to a temporary ouster of CEO Sam Altman. Altman was eventually reinstated, but the incident highlights the kind of pressure and scrutiny this model has been under from the very beginning. The concerns around Q* and now Strawberry stem from its potential to be a significant step toward AGI, artificial general intelligence. AGI represents the kind of AI that can understand, learn, and apply knowledge across an array of tasks, much like a human. The tech community has been cautious about AGI because of the possible risks it poses. Advanced AI that can operate with a high degree of autonomy might present challenges such as aligning its objectives with human values and ensuring it doesn't lead to unintended consequences. There's a lot of excitement, but also a fair amount of caution. Ideogram AI just dropped their new model, Ideogram 2.0, and trust me, it's aiming to go toe-to-toe with the big guys, like Mid-Journey and even the recently launched Flux AI. So let's talk about it. Okay, so here's the deal. Ideogram AI just unveiled their latest and greatest, Ideogram 2.0, and this isn't just some minor update. We're talking about a whole new level of image generation that's designed to compete with the best of the best. Now, Ideogram has always been kind of like that underdog in the AI space. You know, the one that's always been good, but maybe hasn't gotten as much attention as it deserves. But with this new release, they're looking to change all that. One of the biggest things Ideogram 2.0 is bringing to the table is a serious upgrade in realism. Like, if you're into creating images that look super lifelike, this is definitely something you'll want to check out. And it's not just about photorealism. They've also added a bunch of new features and presets that make it easier to create exactly what you're envisioning, whether that's a sleek 3D render, an anime-style character, or a detailed graphic design with some killer text. Now, to really appreciate what Ideogram 2.0 is doing here, we gotta take a quick look at the landscape. Over the past few months, we've seen a ton of developments in the AI image generation. SpaceFlux 1 just launched and is now the go-to generator for Grok on X. Flux 1 is making some serious moves and solidifying its place in the market. right alongside other heavy hitters like Stable Diffusion, XL, Auraflow, Quaicolors, and Hunyuan. So yeah, the competition is fierce, and it feels like every other week there's a new player trying to grab our attention. But here's the kicker. Ideogram 2.0 isn't just trying to compete, it's aiming to outperform. In their official announcement, Ideogram straight up said that their new model is outshining the competition in several key areas, like image-text alignment, how well the images match the prompts, and even how accurately it can render text within the images. And if you've played around with AI image generators before, you know how tricky that last part can be. Text rendering has always been a bit of a weak spot for most models, but not anymore, it seems. All right, guys, let's talk about the new frontier in robotics, because things are heating up big time. We've got some insane developments that are basically bringing us into the future we've all been waiting for. Think humanoid robots. And not just as some distant sci-fi dream, but as something that's practically on our doorstep. We're talking mass production deliveries starting this year. Robots that can do everything from house chores to industrial tasks. And get this, these things are going to be direct competitors to Tesla's Optimists. So let's talk about it first up. Let's zoom in on Shanghai, where things are getting real with the first ever humanoid robot factory. Shanghai is about to start cranking out humanoid robots like nobody's business. This factory, built by a local startup called Agabot, is set to start deliveries in October this year. By the end of 2024, they're aiming to ship out 300 robots. 200 of those are bipedal and 100 are the wheeled variety. That's not a small feat at all. So Agabot is no newcomer. They've been working hard in the Lingang Special Area, which is part of Shanghai's free trade zone, since February last year. It's a prime spot for innovation. Thanks to some serious support from the local government, the company's founder Peng Jiahui was actually a genius youth recruit at Huawei, where he worked on AI chips and algorithms before deciding to strike out on his own. And that move is really paying off. Just to give you an idea of what these robots can do, Agabot recently unveiled 5 new models at a launch event. These aren't your run-of-the-mill robots either. We're talking about bipedal and wheeled bots designed for a whole range of tasks, from interactive services and smart manufacturing to scientific research data collection, and even special operations. One of their bipedal humanoid robots, the Ling CX-1, is going to be open-sourced in a full-stack manner. This means they're publishing a lot of the design material and codes, so developers around the world can get involved and push the technology even further. By November, the factory's production is expected to hit 100 units per month and will ramp up even more by December. This is like the start of an assembly line for the future mass-producing humanoid robots that could potentially become as common as smartphones. Now let's talk competition, because you know where this is going. The minute you hear humanoid robots, you gotta think about Tesla and their Optimus project. Elon Musk has been hyping up Optimus as the next big thing, and honestly, the stakes are high. But Agabot's founder Peng Jiahui isn't backing down. He's pretty much laid it out there that Agabot is going head-to-head with Tesla. So what makes Agabot's robots a contender against the might of Tesla? First off, their flagship model, the One Gene A2, is nothing to sneeze at. This thing stands 175 centimeters, 5'8" tall, weighs 55 kilograms, which is around 120 pounds, and is packed with sensors and AI that allow it to see, hear, and understand a whole bunch of inputs, like text, audio, and visual data. It's designed to be incredibly precise, so precise that it can thread a needle, which is something that even a lot of humans struggles with. Peng and his team are super confident in their commercialization and cost control abilities. They believe that they can roll out these robots more efficiently and at a lower cost than Tesla. Peng's vision is not just about selling robots, it's about making them accessible and practical in a way that hasn't been done before. With Agabot planning to ship 300 units by the end of this year, they're not just talking big, they're actually delivering. Elon Musk is once again making headlines with his latest venture, xAI, which has recently introduced Grok 2, a new AI language model that's been getting a lot of attention, and there's good reason for that. Beyond its technical capabilities, Grok 2 stands out as one of the few AI models that operates with very little censorship. The kinds of images people have been generating with it are proof of just how unrestricted this model is. Before we dive into the technical details, let's take a moment to look at some of these controversial examples. Alright, so launched just under 2 years after the company was founded. Grok 2 is grabbing attention, not only because of Musk's involvement, but also because it's performing really well in an already crowded and competitive field. It's been tested against some of the top AI models out there, including OpenAI's GPT-4, Google's Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude. And here's the thing, it's not just keeping pace with these models in some key areas, it's actually outperforming them. One way to measure how these models stack up is by looking at their ELO scores, originally created for ranking chess players. The ELO system has been adapted for comparing AI models to Grok. 2 has been doing really well on the LM-size leaderboard, which is a popular platform for these kinds of comparisons. It's currently outperforming GPT-4 in several important benchmarks, including GPQA, which tests graduate-level science knowledge and math, which involves solving pretty tough math problems. For example, on the GPQA benchmark, Grok 2 scored 56.0%. To put that in perspective, GPT-4 Turbo scored 48.0% and Claude 3.5 Sonnet scored 59.6%. Now these might seem like small differences, but in the world of AI, even a few percentage points can make a big difference in terms of understanding and problem-solving abilities. Grok 2 also did well on the MMLU benchmark, which stands for Massive Multitask Language Understanding, scoring 87.5%. That's just ahead of GPT-4 Turbo's 86.5% and Gemini Pro's 85.9% in practical terms. Grok 2 is designed to be easy to use, flexible, and capable of handling some pretty complex tasks. It's not just about generating text. It can also handle real-time information pulled straight from X, the social media platform that used to be known as Twitter. This makes Grok 2 particularly powerful for applications where having up-to-the-minute information is crucial, or where you're dealing with fast-changing real-world situations. Along with Grok 2, Xi also rolled out Grok 2 Mini. This is a smaller version of the main model designed to work faster while still delivering accurate results. It's not just a stripped-down version. It's optimized for situations where speed is key, making it perfect for scenarios where quick responses are more important than having every last detail. Even though it's smaller, Grok 2 Mini still holds its own in the benchmarks. Take the math benchmark, for instance. Grok 2 Mini scored 73.0%. That's better than some of the other top models out there, like Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which scored 71.1%. This shows that even the light version of Grok 2 can outperform much of the competition in tough areas like math and science. Benchmarks are really important in the AI world because they give us a clear idea of how one model compares to another. Grok 2 has been put through its paces with a series of tough tests, and the results are pretty impressive on the Human Evil benchmark, which tests the model's ability to generate correct Python code. Grok 2 achieved a pass at one score of 88.4%, that's slightly lower than GPT-4 Turbo score of 90.2%. But it's still ahead of Claude 3 Opus, which scored 84.9%. This puts Grok 2 among the top performers in coding tasks, showing that it's not just about generating text or solving math problems, it's also about handling practical, real-world coding challenges. Grok 2 also shines in visual tasks on the Math Vista benchmark, which tests the model's ability to solve math problems using visual reasoning. Grok 2 scored 69.0%, that's well above GPT-4 Turbo's 58.1% and even ahead of Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which scored 67.7% in terms of document-based question-answering docs. VQA, Grok 2 scored 93.6%, which is just shy of the top score of 95.2% achieved by Claude 3.5 Sonnet. These benchmarks really highlight Grok 2's strengths across a variety of tasks, from text generation and coding to visual reasoning and document comprehension. Okay, let's talk about Google's brand new feature, Gemini Live, their big answer to OpenAI's ChatGPT, Advanced Voice Mode. This is something we've all been waiting for, and I'm stoked to break it all down for you. So Google just launched Gemini Live, which is their latest move in the AI space. And honestly, it's pretty impressive. Gemini Live is all about voice interaction.
How can I embarrass my sister during a wedding toast, but respectfully?
Okay, here's the deal. Think of it as having a real dynamic conversation. With your phone, Google's been teasing this for months now, ever since their I/O 2024 developer conference, and finally, it's here.
Great, let's get going. Here's one of the voices I have.
If you've been keeping up with OpenAI's advanced voice mode for ChatGPT, which rolled out in a limited alpha recently, then you've probably been wondering how Google was going to respond. Well, Gemini Live is that response. So Gemini Live lets you have these deep, free, flowing conversations with Google's AI right on your smartphone. It's got this enhanced speech engine that makes the dialogue not just more realistic, but also emotionally expressive.
Here's one of the voices I have, but there are more to choose from.
Here's another voice I can use. You can pick me now and always make a change later in settings.
So the AI can pick up on your tone and pace and adapt its responses accordingly.
Hi, Gemini. How are you doing?
Hi there, I'm doing well, thanks for asking. It's always nice to hear from someone. How can I help you today?
You can even interrupt it mid-sentence to ask a follow-up question or steer the conversation in a different direction, just like you would in a real conversation with another person. Google's really been pushing the idea that Gemini Live is hands-free too. You can keep talking even if your phone's locked or the app's in the background. This means you could be doing other things while still chatting with your AI multitasking to the max right now. This could actually change how we interact with our devices up until now. Voice assistants like Google Assistant, Siri, and Alexa have been pretty basic. They're great for setting timers or playing music, but they're pretty limited when it comes to having a real conversation. They'll usually just direct you to a web page if you ask something too complex. But Gemini Live is designed to understand the context of your questions and give meaningful answers even on more complex topics. You can ask it how the USA did in the recent Paris Olympics, and it'll give you a detailed answer. Or ask it for a diet plan, and it'll offer suggestions based on what it knows about you. And here's another cool thing. The architecture behind Gemini Live, which is powered by the Gemini 1.5 Pro and Gemini 1.5 Flash models, has a super long context window. What that means is the AI can remember what you've been talking about for a long time, theoretically, for hours of conversation. This essentially allows for more coherent and in-depth discussions without the AI losing track of what you were originally talking about.
I'm looking to run my first marathon and I really don't know where to start. What should I do?
That's an awesome goal. Training for a marathon is a huge commitment, so let's get you set up for success.
All right, let's talk about how you might actually use this in real life. Google gives this kind of funny example where you could use Gemini Live to rehearse for a job interview. I mean, it's a bit ironic, right? Practicing talking to an AI to prepare for talking to another AI hiring manager someday. But in all seriousness, it could actually be really helpful. The AI can give you tips on what to say, how to say it, and even suggest skills to highlight. But that's just one scenario. You could also use Gemini Live for brainstorming sessions, asking for advice, or just having a conversation about something complex that's been on your mind. And because you can interrupt and redirect the conversation, it feels more natural and less like you're just waiting for the AI to finish its canned response. The brilliant minds at Sakana AI have been absolutely killing it with their nature-inspired methods for advancing the cutting edge of foundation models. And when I say foundation models, I mean those incredibly powerful AI systems that can take on virtually any task you throw at them. Now, Sakana had already made waves earlier this year when they cracked the code on automatically merging the collective knowledge of multiple large language models together. They found a way to actually combine and unify the knowledge bases of separate AI models into one cohesive system. But they didn't stop there. In more recent work, Sakana took that breakthrough and ran with it, using those merged LLM knowledge bases to then discover entirely new objective functions for tuning and optimizing other large language models. I know it's a lot to wrap your head around. We're venturing into uncharted territory with each new development. Here's the thing though, during that cutting-edge research, the team at Sakana kept getting blown away by the sheer creative potential these frontier foundation models were displaying every time they pushed the envelope. The models seemed to match them with unexpected bursts of ingenuity and novel ideas. And that's when it hit them. What if they could somehow harness that creativity and apply it towards automating the entire scientific research process itself, from conceptualizing new avenues of inquiry all the way through to publishing full-fledged research papers? No human supervision required. Well, they didn't just dream it up as a thought experiment. These mad lads actually went ahead and made it a reality, introducing the AI Scientist, the world's first comprehensive system, and enabling foundation models, like large language models, to independently conduct open-ended scientific discovery from start to finish. I'll let that one marinate for a second. We're talking about an artificial intelligence that can spearhead the entire research lifecycle on its own, from brainstorming novel ideas and executing the experiments all the way to writing up the findings in a publishable manuscript. It's a quantum leap unlike anything we've seen before. Here's a high-level breakdown of how this bad boy operates. First up, the AI Scientist flexes its idea generation skills by brainstorming a diverse set of potential research directions to explore. It doesn't just shotgun a bunch of concepts, though. It cross-references against existing scientific literature to weed out anything that's already been covered and ensure its ideas are legitimately new and groundbreaking. Once it locks onto the most promising and novel concepts, the real fun begins working off an initial placeholder codebase that serves as a starting point. The AI Scientist kicks into high gear, editing, augmenting, and expanding that code to bring its avant-garde research ideas to life through automated implementation. We're talking executing full-blown experiments from scratch, crunching data, generating visualizations and analysis, the whole 9 yards. And this part is powered by some seriously cutting-edge tech in the realm of autonomous code generation and program synthesis. It's straight up writing its own code to test out these blue-sky ideas. But get this, the AI Scientist doesn't just spit out raw data or half-baked experimental results. Oh no, it goes the full distance by autonomously authoring entire scientific manuscripts, detailing the work from start to finish, comprehensive literature reviews, insightful analysis and interpretation of the findings, properly formatted citations and references. It covers all the bases, just like a human researcher would for publishing in a scholarly journal. This brings up the important issue of fact-checking. The AI's work to address this, they developed a parallel system specifically for automated peer review. So essentially, an AI that can evaluate the scientific validity and technical rigor of research conducted by another AI. It's a robo-peer reviewer capable of assessing these auto-generated papers with accuracy levels on par with humans. So in this continuous cycle, the AI Scientist authors a full research paper, ships it off to the AI peer review module, which procedures feedback and critique, and that input gets folded back into the original system to help refine its process for the next iteration. It's recreating the entire loop of research peer review and innovation that propels the scientific community forward. Except now it's being carried out autonomously by artificial intelligence from ideation to publication. In their initial demo run, the AI Scientist has already been pushing the cutting edge across diverse machine learning fields like diffusion models, transformers, grokking, and more. Google DeepMind just made a robot that can play ping pong against humans and even win some matches. Meanwhile, Boston Dynamics' Atlas robot is showing off its strength doing push-ups and burpees like it's training for a marathon. On top of that, scientists are building a global network of supercomputers to speed up the development of artificial general intelligence, aiming to create AI that can think and learn more like humans. We're covering all these topics in this video, so stick around. But first, let's jump into the story about the AI robot taking on table tennis. So Google DeepMind, the AI powerhouse that's been behind some crazy tech, has trained a robot to play ping pong against humans. And honestly, it's kind of blowing my mind. Alright, so here's the deal. Google DeepMind didn't just teach this robot to casually hit the ball back and forth. No, they went all in and got this robotic arm to play full-on competitive table tennis. And guess what? It's actually good enough to beat some humans. Yeah, no kidding. They had this bot play 29 games against people with different skill levels, and it won 13 of them. That's almost half the matches, which for a robot is pretty wild. Okay, so let's break down how this all went down. To train this robot, DeepMind's team used a two-step approach. First, they put the bot through its paces in a computer simulation where it learned all the basic moves. Things like how to return a serve, hit a forehand topspin, or nail a backhand shot. Then they took what the robot learned in the sim and fine-tuned it with real-world data. So every time it played, it was learning and getting better. Now to get even more specific, this robot tracks the ball using a pair of cameras, which capture everything happening in real time. It also follows the human player's movements using a motion capture system. This setup uses LEDs on the player's paddle to keep track of how they're swinging. All that data gets fed back into the simulation for more training, creating this super cool feedback loop where the bot is constantly refining its game. But guys, it's not all smooth sailing for our robotic ping pong player. There are a few things it still struggles with. For example, if you hit the ball really fast, send it high up, or hit it super low, the robot can miss. It's also not great at dealing with spin, something that more advanced players use to mess with their opponents. The robot just can't measure spin directly yet, so it's a bit of a weak spot. Now, something I found really interesting is that the robot can't serve the ball, so in these matches they had to tweak the rules a bit to make it work. And yeah, that's a bit of a limitation, but hey, it's a start, right? Okay, now something interesting has surfaced about Boston Dynamics, Atlas Robot, the humanoid hub. On Twitter recently shared a video of Atlas doing push-ups, and it's part of an 8-hour-long presentation. There's not much info available yet, but it's fascinating to see Atlas performing not just push-ups, but even a burpee. The movements are incredibly fluid and almost human-like, but here's the real question. Does it get stronger after each set? I hope not, because it looks like it could do push-ups forever. Alright, now let's talk about something really fascinating that's happening right now. Scientists are working on building a global network of supercomputers to speed up the development of what's known as artificial general intelligence, or AGI for short. And we're not just talking about an AI that excels in one thing, like playing table tennis or generating text. It's something that can learn, adapt, and improve its decision-making across the board. It's kind of scary, but also super exciting, right? So these researchers are starting by bringing a brand new supercomputer online in September, and that's just the beginning. This network is supposed to be fully up and running by 2025. Now, what's cool about this setup is that it's not just one supercomputer doing all the heavy lifting. It's actually a network of these machines working together, which they're calling a multi-level cognitive computing network. Think of it as a giant brain made up of several smaller brains all connected and working together to solve problems. Now, what's really interesting is that these supercomputers are going to be packed with some of the most advanced AI hardware out there. We're talking about components like NVIDIA L40S, GPUs, AMD Instinct processors, and some crazy stuff, like 10 Storant wormhole server racks. If you're into the tech side of things, this is some serious muscle, alright? So what's the point of all this? Well, according to the folks over at SingularityNet, the company behind this project, they're aiming to transition from current AI models, which are heavily reliant on big data, to something much more sophisticated. Their goal is to create AI that can think more like humans, with the ability to make decisions based on multi-step reasoning and dynamic world modeling. It's like moving from an AI that just repeats what it's been taught to one that can think on its own. So AI 21 Labs, the brains behind the Jurassic language models, has just dropped 2 brand new open source LMs called Jamba 1.5 Mini and Jamba 1.5 Large. And these models are designed with a unique hybrid architecture that incorporates cutting-edge techniques to enhance AI performance. And since they're open source, you can try them out yourself on platforms like Hugging Face or run them on cloud services like Google Cloud, Vertex AI, Microsoft, Azure, and NVIDIA, NIM. Definitely worth checking out. Alright, so what's this hybrid architecture all about? Okay, let's break it down in simple terms. Most of the language models, like the ones used in ChatGPT, are based on the transformer architecture. These models are awesome for a lot of tasks, but they've got this one big limitation. They struggle when it comes to handling really large context windows. Think about when you're trying to process a super long document or a full transcript from a long meeting. Regular transformers get kind of bogged down because they have to deal with all that data at once. And that's where these new Jamba models from AI 21 Labs come into play with a totally new, game-changing approach. So AI 21 has cooked up this new hybrid architecture they're calling the SSM transformer. Now what's cool about this is it combines the classic transformer model with something called a structured state space model, or SSM. The SSM is built on some older, more efficient techniques like neural networks and convolutional neural networks. Basically, these are better at handling computations efficiently. So by using this mix, the Jamba models can handle much longer sequences of data without slowing down. That's a massive win for tasks that need a lot of context, like if you're doing some complex generative AI reasoning or trying to summarize a super long document. Now, why is handling a long context window such a big deal? Well, think about it. When you're using AI for real-world applications, especially in businesses, you're often dealing with complex tasks. Maybe you're analyzing long meeting transcripts or summarizing a giant policy document, or even running a chatbot that needs to remember a lot of past conversations. The ability to process large amounts of context efficiently means these models can give you more accurate and meaningful responses. Or Dagan, the VP of Product at AI. 91 Labs actually nailed it when he said an AI model that can effectively handle long context is crucial for many enterprise generative AI applications. And he's right. Without this ability, AI models often tend to hallucinate or just make stuff up because they're missing out on important information. But with the Jamba models and their unique architecture, they can keep more relevant info in memory, leading to way better outputs and less need for repetitive data processing. And you know what that means: better quality and lower cost. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts of what makes this hybrid architecture so efficient. So there's one part of the model called Mamba, which is actually very important. It's developed with insights from researchers at Carnegie Mellon and Princeton, and it has a much lower memory footprint and a more efficient attention mechanism than your typical transformer. This means it can handle longer context windows with ease, unlike transformers, which have to look at the entire context every single time. Slowing things down, Mamba keeps a smaller state that gets updated as it processes the data. This makes it way faster and less resource-intensive. Last week, something big happened at Google DeepMind headquarters in London. They've got this ceremonial gong that they only ring for major breakthroughs, and this time, it rang out for something truly unexpected. Back in 2016, they hit the gong for AlphaGo, an AI system that dominated the ancient game of Go, even defeating the best human players in the world. Then in 2017, they rang it again when AlphaZero, another AI, conquered the chess world, taking down human world champions. Fast forward to just last week, and they brought out the gong once more to celebrate their latest achievement. Their AI just competed in the International Mathematical Olympiad, a competition usually reserved for the brightest young math whizzes from around the world. And get this, the AI performed so well it could have walked away with a silver medal if it were human. This isn't just a win for AI, it's a sign that computers are getting seriously good at tackling problems that have always been a human stronghold. So here's the deal. Last week, DeepMind's AI took part in the International Mathematical Olympiad, IMO, which is basically the Olympics for the world's brightest young mathematicians. This year, the event was held from July 11th to July 22nd at the University of Bath, about 100 miles west of London. It's a huge deal in the math world, drawing 609 high school students from 108 countries, all competing to solve some of the most challenging math problems out there. The competition is fierce, with students vying for gold, silver, and bronze medals. But here's where things get really interesting. For the first time ever, an AI system not only competed alongside these human math prodigies, but also performed well enough to earn a medal. Yeah, you heard that right. An AI system at the level of a silver medalist. It managed to solve 4 out of the 6 problems presented, earning a total of 28 points. While it didn't reach the top spot, it's still a groundbreaking achievement that has everyone talking. Dr. Pushmeet Kohli, one of the leads at Google DeepMind, described this accomplishment as a massive breakthrough in AI's ability to engage in mathematical reasoning. He went so far as to call it a phase transition, which is a fancy way of saying that this marks a transformative moment in how AI can be used in mathematics. It's not just about this one competition. It's about the broader implications for the future of AI and math. To make sure the AI's performance was judged fairly, DeepMind brought in 2 independent experts to assess its work. These weren't just any experts. They were Timothy Gowers, a mathematician at the University of Cambridge who's won the Fields Medal, which is like the Nobel Prize for mathematics, and Joseph Myers, a software developer who also happens to be a past IMO gold medalist. Myers has also served as the chair of the Problem Selection Committee for the IMO, so he knows his stuff. Both of these guys took a close look at the AI's solutions, and they were impressed. Gowers even said that while his expectations were high going into this, the AI exceeded them in some areas. So let's talk about how the competition went down. The human competitors, these super smart high school students, had to sit for 2 exams over 2 days. Each exam had 3 problems covering topics like algebra, geometry, combinatorics, and number theory. They had just 4.5 hours per exam to solve these incredibly tough problems. Meanwhile, the AI was working away back at the DeepMind lab in London with no time constraints. The researchers were watching closely, and every time the AI managed to solve a problem, they banged the gong in celebration. Now, to give you an idea of how tough these problems are, consider this. Only one student, Hao Jia from China, managed to get a perfect score of 42 points by solving all 6 problems. The US team won the overall competition with a total of 192 points, followed closely by China with 190 points. And remember, the AI earned 28 points by fully solving 4 problems, 2 and now. Algebra, 1 in geometry, and 1 in number theory. However, it struggled with the 2 combinatorics problems. But still, this performance was strong enough to earn a silver medal if it had been a human competitor. Google has just rolled out its latest text-to-image AI model Image, and 3 making it accessible to all users through their Image FX platform. Alongside this release, they've published an in-depth research paper that delves into the technology behind it. This move represents a major step forward, expanding access to a tool that was previously available only to a select group of users. Alright, so Imagen 3 is a text-to-image model. It can generate images at a default resolution of 1024 by 1024 pixels, which is already pretty high quality. But what really sets it apart is that you can upscale those images up to 8 times that resolution. So if you're working on something that needs a huge detailed image, like a billboard or a high-res print, you've got the flexibility to do that without losing any quality. That's something that not every model out there can offer, and it's a big plus for anyone working in designer media. Now, the secret actually lies in the data. It was trained on. Google didn't just use any old data set. They went through a multi-stage filtering process to ensure that only the highest quality images and captions made it into the training set. This involved removing unsafe, violent, or low-quality images, which is crucial because you don't want the model learning from bad examples. They also filtered out any AI-generated images to avoid the model picking up on the quirks or biases that might come from those. They also used something called deduplication pipelines. This means they removed images that were too similar to each other. Why? Because if the model sees the same kind of image over and over again, it might start to overfit. That is, it might get too good at generating just that kind of image and struggle with others by reducing repetition. In the training data, Google ensured that Imagen 3 could generate a wider variety of images, making it more versatile. Another interesting aspect is how they handled captions. Each image in the training set wasn't just paired with a human-written caption. They also used synthetic captions generated by other AI models. This was done to maximize the variety and diversity in the language that the model learned. Different models were used to generate these synthetic captions, and various prompts were employed to make sure the language was as rich and varied as possible. This is important because it helps the model understand different ways people might describe the same scene. Alright, so how does Imagen 3 stack up against other models out there? Google didn't just make big claims. They actually put Imagen 3 head-to-head with some of the best models out there, including DALL-E 3, Midjourney, V6, and Stable Diffusion 3. They ran extensive evaluations, both with human raters and automated metrics to see how Imagen 3 performed. In the human evaluations, they looked at a few key areas: overall preference, prompt, image alignment, visual appeal, detailed prompt, image alignment, and numerical reasoning. Well, if you're someone who works with images, whether you're a designer, a marketer, or even just someone who likes to create content for fun, having a tool like Imagen 3 could be a huge asset. It's not just about getting a nice picture, it's about getting exactly what you need down to the smallest detail without compromising on quality. Alright, if you found this interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more AI insights. Let me know in the comments what you think about Imagen 3 and how you might use it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.